You know, going vegan can feel like a huge leap, right? But what if you had a roadmap from someone who's already been there, done that? Today, we're going to dive into the hard-won wisdom from a dietitian who's been thriving on plants for over a decade. Let's get into her key lessons. And that quote, that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's all about skipping the confusion, the trial and error, and maybe some of those questionable early meals. Whether you're just plant-curious or you're already on the path, these lessons are here to make things smoother and way more enjoyable.
So here's our journey. We're going to start with the most important part, your mindset. Then we'll tackle some of those big nutrition myths, get into the nitty-gritty of making food taste amazing, and finally, we'll talk about building the confidence you need to make this whole thing stick.
First up, and honestly, this is the foundational lesson that can change everything. Before you even think about what's for dinner, you have to get your head in the right space. Success really does start with your mental approach.
So think about it this way. The restriction mindset is all about that long list of no's. No meat, no dairy. It relies purely on willpower. And let's be real, willpower runs out. But the abundance mindset, it totally flips the script. Instead of asking, what do I have to cut out, you ask, what cool new foods do I get to add in? It turns it from a chore into an exploration. And the best part, the new foods just kind of gently crowd out the old ones. No big fight necessary.
And there's actually some cool brain science that explains why this works so well. It's a little thing called psychological reactance. Basically, the second you tell yourself, I can't have that, your brain instinctively wants it about 10 times more. It's just how we're wired. The abundance approach is like a clever little hack that sidesteps this mental trap entirely. So remember, exploration, not restriction. Okay, so our mindset is locked in. Now let's tackle the two biggest nutritional boogeymen that cause so much unnecessary stress for new vegans: protein and, you guessed it, soy.
I mean, you see it everywhere online, don't you? This massive hype around protein. People are throwing out these huge numbers, saying it's impossible to get enough from plants. It is so easy to feel intimidated and think you need to be tracking every single gram. But do you really?
For most of us who aren't elite athletes, the answer is a big, resounding no. A much simpler, stress-free baseline is to aim for about 1 gram of protein for every kilogram of your body weight. So for someone who's about 150 pounds, that's roughly 68 grams. A single cup of lentils has about 18 grams. A serving of tofu has around 20. You can see how quickly this adds up just by including a protein source at each meal. No obsessive counting needed.
All right, let's talk about soy. This is probably one of the most stubborn myths out there. So much of that fear is built on really outdated research, a lot of it from animal studies where they were given amounts of soy you could literally never get from just eating some edamame or tofu.
So what does the current science from studies on actual humans tell us? Well, it's pretty clear. Not only is eating whole soy food safe for most people, but there's growing evidence it might even have protective benefits, like lowering breast cancer risk. The research does not support the idea that it throws your hormones out of whack. In reality, soy is just a practical powerhouse. It's affordable, it's versatile, and it's a complete protein. So we've got our mindset right. We're armed with facts, not fear. Now for the fun part. Making food that you actually crave and understanding how your body adjusts to all this awesome new fuel. Okay, this right here is where eating plant-based can turn you into a much better cook. Seriously. You just learn to be more intentional with flavor. And this simple framework, it's a total game changer. Think about it. If your meal tastes a little flat, it's probably just missing one of these 4 things. Some fat for richness, a splash of acid for brightness, a hit of salt for depth, or a little touch of sweet to balance it all out. Master this, and every single meal becomes something you can't wait to eat.
Now let's talk about a nutrient that seriously needs a better marketing team: fiber. This statistic is, honestly, it's staggering. Almost nobody's getting enough of this crucial nutrient that supports everything from your gut health to your blood sugar. But here's the great news. A well-planned plant-based diet is absolutely packed with it.
But here's the catch. If your body isn't used to all that fiber, going from 0 to 100 can feel a little uncomfortable at first. So if you feel bloated after a big bowl of chili, please do not panic. It is not a sign you're failing. It's just your gut microbiome, all those good bacteria, getting used to the new menu. The key is just to ramp up slowly and stay consistent. A great tip is to start with smaller legumes like lentils, which tend to be a bit easier to digest.
All right, we're heading into our final section. This is all about putting the tools in place that help you trust this process, feel really secure in your choices, and make this a truly sustainable long-term way of life.
This is a big one. When you're just starting out, it's so tempting to track every single thing you eat to make sure you're doing it right. But that can quickly become an obsession and actually damage your relationship with food. And here's the crucial point. It's just not necessary for most people.
So what's the alternative? The plate method. It's this beautifully simple visual tool. You just look at your plate. Is about half of it filled with colorful fruits and veggies? Is a quarter of it grains or starches for energy? And is that last quarter a solid plant protein source? If the answer's yes, then you're covering your bases. No counting, no measuring, no stress.
You know, so often the hardest part of this whole journey isn't finding recipes. It's dealing with the questions from other people or even just the nagging doubts in your own head. And the best defense against that is knowledge. Learning the fundamentals for yourself is what empowers you and builds that unshakable confidence in your choices.
And please, remember this. This is a big change. You're not just learning new habits, you're unlearning a lifetime of old ones. You're unlearning cultural norms. So be patient with yourself. Every single plant-based meal is a win. Self-compassion is absolutely key here.
Ultimately, all of these lessons really circle back to one core idea: just being kind to yourself through this process. So thinking with that abundance mindset, let's end on this question. What's the first, new, exciting food you're going to add to your plate?